This has no relevance with the submission. You can submit anytime. That's totally valid as long as you are in compliance with other requirement, like the time gap between the previous submission and this submission. That's totally fine if you are in compliance. But for the pre-2025, pre-2026 vintage, you can apply the current value. Post-2025 vintage, you cannot.
And so just to clarify on that point, just to make sure I understand, so with a monitoring period that spans across 2 years, you can apply the 2 different values. So anything included up to 2020, the end of December 2025, can use the existing FNRB, but then post that you have to use a new one, but you can apply 2 different FNRBs in the same monitoring period.
Yes, you can. Like that's why I said like vintage must be considered here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I think sticking to like application of the tool, we have had some questions that come in, and so can projects voluntarily use a lower FNRB value compared to the 3 eligible methods? And so the context around this was that some Article 6 buyers are requiring an FNRB rate of 30%, and so that can be lower than some of the rates found in the different methods available. So can projects voluntarily use a lower FNRB value if they wanted to?
When you apply the methodology, you have to ensure the consistency with the methodological requirement, and that also kind of ensure the accuracy as well. Conservativeness is not always the solution. Yes, conservativeness is preferred when the when it is about the data gap and required. In this particular case, you may not be able to use any random number, whether it is conservative or not. So, and kind of like to use any number, first you have to demonstrate what the methodology application-based value is, and then further maybe justify like how this value is more appropriate. Then you may be allowed, but in general, it is not allowed to use any number. Like if it is not required by the methodology, or it is not falling under the purview of methodology.
Clear. Okay, another question regarding the application. So how should FNRB, and then I'm going to go, because I'm realising the time, then I'm going to go to some CCP labelling questions, I think. So actually, I'm going to hold this one because I think it might be quite complicated. No, actually, I'm going to say it. So how to say FNRB values, so under the MOFIS map, so how should FNRB values be determined for cases? So if you've got the MOFIS map, so how are they applied at a more granular national, regional values? So I guess the question here is like, if you've got the MOFIS map and you're looking at region by region, like how are the FNRB, and if they differ between those different regions and you've got a project that spans across multiple regions, how should that be applied? If that's too technical, we can follow, not too technical, but if that's a long answer, we can follow up.
Yeah, I mean, like there is a long answer and then there's a short answer. I'll go with the short answer. We can explain it in FAQs and share it with the stakeholders. The short answer here is like the FNRB values should be as per the project boundary defined in the registered PDD. So if your project has a national kind of boundary, then you should apply the national value. If it is kind of regional, then you should apply the regional value. Having said that, I mean, like it would be more sort of appropriate to find that fine balance in sort of conservativeness and accuracy, considering the FNRB values as we have seen from MOFIS changing across the within the country drastically. So we would allow the weighted average FNRB value, wherein the project developer may kind of select the project boundary based on where the users are, and then corresponding FNRB value, and then estimate a project level FNRB by kind of like differentiating these project area. this approach will lead to a more accurate sort of representative value of FNRB that is relevant to the project itself. Having said that, I mean, like the best approach would be for the project developer to follow the bottom-up approach in a way where I mean, like clearly identifying the project coordinates and accordingly estimating the FNRB value and applying that value, because that is what the entire sort of like the debate was. So like, what is the most appropriate value for the project developer? And considering MOFOS allows and facilitate project level, project boundary level sort of estimate, even identification of different region within the project. So to an extent, that will be kind of most appropriate solution. We will issue more clarity on this particular point as this is a kind of like most critical aspect of overall update. So we will update, we'll provide more guidance like how this can be done down the line.
So that's a good reflection, because there's a question that's had a lot of thumbs up regarding that specific point in terms of project specific MOFOS modelling. So we'll provide more information about that. But essentially, we would enable it in gold standard.
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I've just seen we've got 3 minutes left, so I'm going to choose my next question carefully. And I'm going to choose one from the list. So so there's a question here from Julian. So given that design change was mandated by gold standard without prior notice, is the design change fee still applicable in the specific context of FNRB updates after December 2025?
So, like our recommendation is like FNRB updates should be done along with the issuance track, which means like no fees required if you are updating the FNRB along with your performance review request. So that is a recommended approach. But if the developer would like to go for FNRB update independently, you can do that. But in that case, a fee will be applicable. The design change review fee will be applicable when design change is independently submitted.
Here. And I'm going to ask one final question related to, and this is more specifically at VVBs. So in terms of, and this is for the CCP labelling part of it, so are there additional requirements that VVBs need to be aware of with regards to CCP labelling?
Like for the VEB overall assessment, as we say that VEB is involved when the design change is required. So in that case, VEB will be required to validate and verify the changes. That includes methodology specific changes, and also the ICVCM requirement, like compliance with the ICVCM requirement. That will fall under the scope of design change review at VEB end.
Clear. Okay, I knew I should have booked an hour and a half for this webinar because there's still lots of questions that are pending, but I think we're now on the hour. So what we'll do is, I've already mentioned this, but after this webinar, we will send a communication out that will include a recording of this webinar. It would also include all the questions that have been submitted with answers to those, and the link to this presentation so you can have a look at it in more detail. We're more than happy to help support and answer any questions related to this topic. We know how important it is. So please do not hesitate to reach out to help@goldstandard.org with any questions that you may have. I'd like to thank Vikash and thank Owen for joining me here and giving me their deep technical knowledge and expertise with regards to this topic. And thank you all for taking the time to join us and to listen to these updates. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
you.